Hello students, welcome to Helm of Science. So as the joint entrance examination is going on, so here I come up with some of the questions of July 20th shift 1 chemistry exam. So I hope this answer or this video will help you in order to analyze how well you have performed in the exams. So without any further delays, let's get started. So the first question says that 10,000 kilojoule energy is needed per day and the heat of combustion is 2700 kilojoule per mole, and that is for glucose molecule. So you have to here find out the grams of glucose needed. Okay, that means firstly, what you have to calculate, you don't have to calculate, rather you know that molecular weight of glucose is 180 gram. Okay, and it is given that for 27 kilojoule of energy per mole, that is its heat of combustion. That means 2700 kilojoule of energy is required for 180 gram of glucose. Okay, right? So how much amount of glucose is needed for 10,000 kilojoule of energy? So therefore 10,000 kilojoule of energy, so for that the amount of glucose required will be how much? It will be 180 by 2700 into 10,000, and once you solve it you will get 666.6 gram of glucose. Okay, so for 10,000 kilojoule of energy you will require this amount of glucose in order to undergo combustion. Okay, so move on to the next question. The difference in energy between the second and third orbit of helium plus ion will be. Okay, so as you all know this formula, that the energy of nth orbit is given by the formula minus 13.6 into z square by n square, where z is the atomic number and n is the number of orbits or the orbit number. Okay, so here you have to find out the difference between second and third orbit. So firstly we will calculate the energy of second orbit of which ion? He plus. Okay, so it will be minus 13.6 into, what is the atomic number of helium? It is 2, so 2 square by orbit number here is 2, that is second orbit, hence it will always also be equal to 2 square, and the unit is electron volt. So this 2 square by 2 square will get cancelled and we will get minus 13.6 eV. Next we will solve the energy for third orbit. E of third orbit of He plus, again the same formula, minus 13.6 into 2 square by, here n is equal to 3, so 3 square eV. If you solve this you will get minus 6.04 eV. Now what you have to do, you have to simply find out the difference. Therefore delta E equals E3 minus E2. So it will be equal to minus 6.04 minus of minus 13.6 eV. Okay, and once you solve it you will get 7.54 eV. So that this is the difference in energy between the second and third orbit of helium plus ion. Okay, I hope all of you have made it correct right? So now move on to the third question. So it is given that the azimuthal quantum number of Ga plus, gallium plus, will be, azimuthal quantum number means L, small l value. So L for, you have to find out for Ga plus, it will be equal to how much? So for that we need to know the valence shell electronic configuration. So the valence shell configuration of gallium is 4s2 4p1. Okay. Now here we are talking about Ga plus. So one of the electron will be out. That means here it is 4p0. That means no electron is present in 4p, and 4s2 is there. That means the electrons are present in the 4s orbital. Rather, I should say in the s orbital. So you all know that for s orbital, the value of azimuthal quantum number is 0. So the value of azimuthal quantum number for Ga plus will be equal to 0. So this should be your answer. Okay. This was also pretty simple. Moving on to the fourth question. S block element having formula of oxide MO2 and yellow color is, you are given 4 options: sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Okay. So the alkali metals and the alkaline earth metals has been given here. So among them, you should know that potassium, rubidium, cesium, they are able to form superoxides. Superoxides. Okay, they are able to form superoxides. So here, as it is MO2, that means they are able to form superoxides. But for calcium, magnesium, they cannot produce superoxides. Okay, their production of superoxide is less favorable. So among them, among the 4 options, which one will be the correct then? Of course, potassium. It is the correct one. That means it will form superoxide, and moreover, you will be sure by seeing the color, the yellow color. So you can be even more sure that your answer is potassium, because potassium has the capability to form superoxide when it reacts with oxygen. Okay. So here option B will be correct, potassium. Moving on to the fifth question. Number of lone pairs from the central atom of I3 minus. So I3 minus, it can be arranged like this: I2 minus. Okay. Here the central atom is iodine, so 7 plus 2 plus 1, that is equal to 10. Okay. So 10 divided by 2, that means equal to, it is 5. So for 5, we know the structure is trigonal bipyramidal. Trigonal bipyramidal. Okay, 5 bond pairs. So how will we represent it? We will represent it like this, and here the 3 lone pairs will be present. Lone pairs will occupy the equatorial bonds, as you know. So how many lone pairs are present at the central atom? There are 3 lone pairs in total. Okay, this is for the central atom. But if the question was like this, how many lone pairs are there in I3 minus, then it would have been 9, because these 2 iodine atoms also have lone pairs. You have to keep this in mind. So altogether there are 9 lone pairs in I3 minus. But as in the question it has asked that only the central atom lone pair is asked, that is why the answer would be 3. Okay, 3 lone pairs is present. Okay. I hope you have made it clear. I'm correct. Next, coming on to the next question, that is, which of these have different nature? Now, first of all, this one in option A, it is beryllium hydroxide, and this is aluminium hydroxide. Okay, Now, you should know that both of them are amphoteric in nature. Okay, acidic as well as basic, amphoteric properties. Next one, BOH3, boron hydroxide, and ALOH3, aluminium hydroxide. Now here, BOH3 is acidic and aluminium hydroxide is amphoteric. So you have got your answer already. So B option will be correct. Let's check C and D as well. BOH3 and H3PO3. Okay, both of them are acidic in nature. Acidic in nature. And for the last one, that is NaOH and calcium hydroxide, that is CaOH2. You all know very well that they are basic in nature, both of them. So A, B, and D, both the compounds have same nature. Only in option B, one is acidic and another one is amphoteric. So they are having different nature. So option B would be the correct answer. Next, this is a very important question. Vapor pressure of benzene and methyl benzene are 70 and 20 respectively. Both are equimolecular mixture. What is the mole fraction of benzene in vapor phase? Okay. So for that, you need to know about the total pressure. That is total pressure that is equal to pressure of benzene into its mole fraction plus pressure of methyl benzene. I'm abbreviating as MB. Okay, into mole fraction of methyl benzene. Now here what we have to find out first, since it is given that equimolecular term is given, that is equimolecular mixture is present. That means if I take mole fraction of benzene, I mean the number of moles of benzene as half. So the number of moles of methyl benzene will be equal to how much? Will also be equal to half. Okay. So here what we will do, therefore total pressure that is equal to the partial vapor pressure is given. Vapor pressure is given for benzene, it is equal to 70 and mole fraction value is equal to half plus P of MB, that is vapor pressure of methyl benzene is 20 into, here also the value is half. So 35 plus 10, that is equal to 45. Okay. Now what you have to find out finally, what is the mole fraction of benzene in vapor phase? So the mole fraction of benzene will be equal to how much? Mole fraction of benzene in vapor phase that will be equal to how much? That will be equal to PBXB by total pressure, PT. Okay. So PB means 70 into half. Okay, just a minute. So 70 into half divided by, what is the total pressure? It is 45. That means 35 by 45. And if you solve this, you will get 0.77. So this is the vapor pressure of benzene in vapor phase. Okay, very simple. But you just need to know this formula. This formula you had to know in order to get this problem correctly. Okay. And talking about the last question here, the hybridization of XeOF4. XeOF4. So for that, at first, we have to calculate the number of one pairs that is present, that is 8, plus for fluorine it is 4, plus for oxygen it is 1 minus 1, that is equal to 12 by 2, that is equal to 6. And you know, when the value of the bond pair is 6, we call it as octahedral. That means the molecule is octahedral molecule. Okay, so for octahedral molecule, what is the hybridization? The hybridization is, you all know this, sp3b2. Okay, and it is the molecule looks like this. The molecule actually looks like this. Here one lone pair is present and one oxygen. Okay. So here the hybridization of HCF4 is sp3b2 for octahedral, as it is octahedral in nature. Okay, so these are some of the memory based questions from the shift 1 chemistry paper of July 20th. Hope that this has boost up your confidence and you can now analyze yourselves as to how well have you performed in the exams. We will again come with another session, another shift paper very soon. So stay tuned with us and practice the problems well so that you can excel more in your upcoming exams as well. Okay, so thank you so much.